How about this radical idea? What if people waited to have sex when they got married?
That will never happen.
Why?
Because people want to. I'm being so.
I did it. Yeah, I waited for marriage. I mean, it was amazing.
That's amazing for you, but you are not ever.
But hold on. I know it's not easy, but that's a good question. Let me get to this though. Do those of you that haven't, I'm guessing you all haven't waited till you got married. Do you wish you did?
No.
No? No? Do any of you wish you, in the ideal, if I could paint a world for you that you only shared your sexual experience with one person that was your soulmate, that's not interesting to you?
No.
Oh, that's cool. But
wait, you guys don't regret any of the men you've slept with?
I don't
believe in
a man that I've slept with.
You don't believe in soulmates?
Not necessarily.
How about best friend?
No.
You don't believe in best friends?
I've had a lot of best friends in my life.
Perfect match.
No.
I don't think that exists either.
So
you
many
guys
people
are
throughout
so
your lifetime.
jaded.
I do think the sex is better when you're in love.
You meet so many people throughout your lifetime.
jaded.
At least we're consistent.
No, you're very consistent.
You can have multiple soulmates.
Multiple soulmates.
Yeah.
I was saying, like, with as big as the world is, you're not going to necessarily find exactly one person.
Because you're going to grow throughout your life.
Yeah.
We're
Because,
changing all the time.
And sometimes people don't grow with you. But
So-
if that person were to grow with you, then that's...
So then if it's not a soulmate, then what, I mean this not facetiously, then what is the purpose of marriage?
I don't agree. I wouldn't do a legal marriage.
If you have as much sex as you want before, and marriage really doesn't mean much, does it?
No.
Do you think America was a better country when people waited to have sex when they got married?
You think everyone did that in America?
No, it was the vast majority of women in the 50s and 60s would not have premarital sex. Do you think that's a good thing or a bad thing? That people are having more premarital sex?
I personally don't like it. I don't like hookup culture at all.
You don't like hookup culture, but you're not regretting sleeping with a bunch of guys before a soulmate. Help me understand.
Okay, hold on.
And then, wait,
guys is crazy.
Hold on, and you don't like hookup culture, but you also do OnlyFans, so help me understand all this.
So my body count is 6, and 2 of those I was in a relationship with. The third one I thought I was going to be in a relationship with. And the 3 before that, all of my friends were hooking up with guys, so I thought, like, oh, that's what I need to do, because they're all hooking up, so this is the normal thing. I should be hooking up. And I realized very quickly, I don't like hooking up with random men.
Do any of you think that women are being harmed by hookup culture?
Yes.
No. I agree.
So you all agree at that, but then you say that, no, you don't think women are being harmed by hookup culture?
No.
Okay.
Wait, what?
We'll get that in a second. However, so then why don't all of you make a commitment that you're going to save yourself for marriage? You could do that. Society might not have to.
Because I'm already past the point.
Well, you can make you can always become a new version of yourself. What's done is done, but you could say, I'm now going to save myself from this point forward.
I don't want to be a new version. I want to be me and they accept me for me.
What is me? What is that?
Whatever I've done in the past and up till this point.
So there's no improvement?
I don't need to improve necessarily. It's that I
don't need to improve. Okay.
You said that economics was not the best thing to study in your opinion. Like
Correct.
when I put my hand up, the question I wanted to ask was like, what do you actually think the best thing to study is?
Well,
the best
I mean,
reason to come to college.
Again, if you're going to a super left-wing college and you're trying to just get the piece of paper and credential, I mean, you should go at what the college is. If it's known for, if it's best at. And so I don't know what UW is known for or what it's best at. But I mean, computer science, right? I would imagine the Paul Allen School, is that right? Or am I correct? This is up top of my head. Is that right? It's right here, right? Yeah, so, but yeah, those fields in particular, but sociology or the life sciences or soft social sciences typically do not have as much of an ROI on the time or the money spent.
And so
economics is in the middle ground there.
And so you said that you would defund colleges, state colleges on a national level.
Yes.
And so basically that would mean that there are no subsidies going out to students, like in-state students or anything like that.
I mean, you don't get to determine what the states do, but yes, federally, all federal grants should end completely, yes.
Okay.
Make these institutions survive on their own. If they're so wonderful and they're so great, then make it work. Make your numbers work.
And so then what is the difference between a state college and a privately owned college?
Well, so UW gets subsidized in-state tuition here, right?
Yeah.
So if you go to
that's why I'm paying only
for sure.
$12,000 a year.
No, for sure.
Right?
But you're paying it back in taxes. Let's be clear, right? So taxes make that possible, and your parents or you paid that in for 18
That's
years,
fine, yeah.
so you get that back. But a private school, I don't know, is there University of Seattle? Is that a thing? Or
Yes.
Okay, which I'm guessing is private.
Seattle U, yeah.
Okay, that they do not get money from Olympia to subsidize the tuition. So they have to stand on their own 2 feet.
Right.
So they have higher tuition,
Yeah.
And they have to justify to donors how they're doing every single year.
Yeah.
But they still might get some federal money. Does that make sense?
Yes. And you're saying this on the grounds of required like diversity credits? And
No, I just
things
think,
like
I
that?
mean, look around. Has college enriched our society? The young people are the most depressed. They're the most anxious, the most alcohol addicted, drug addicted, least married, most angry generation
Is
in
that
American
all-
history.
is that all due
Hold
to
on.
college?
Where does it come from, though? I mean, they're the most college-educated, most credentialed generation in history. Where do these ideas come from?
I would argue that they come from the fact that there are too many people and not enough jobs. And to stand out of the crowd, to stand out of the masses, you need to get yourself some credentials.
I
so
totally
that you
agree.
can-
So you want to stand out? Don't go to college.
Then you're not going to get hired.
Worked for me.
Work for you.
Start your own business. By the way, that's not true. Half of employers no longer require a college degree requirement.
Well,
Half.
okay, I'm talking about more specialized jobs.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
As far as trades go, okay, that makes sense. Things
11
where you're
million
working on
trade.
your two
11 million job openings for trades.
Yeah, you're using your muscles to get your daily wage.
Well,
right?
it's not.
But-
It's not just muscles though. Like for advanced engineering is not easy. That's not just picking up lumber and putting it on one side of the warehouse. That's very specific. Very, And by the way, you can learn to code in 8 weeks and earn $100,000 a year.
You can.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
Maybe
you don't need to
not-
go to University of Washington.
The thing is though that you are not going to get hired over somebody that has graduated from UW
You'd be
with
surprised.
a computer science degree.
You've been sold a lie. You've been surprised. You'd be really surprised. Employers less and less likely actually want to hire kids from college because they work the least, they're the most entitled, and they're quickest to run to HR about problems and mispronouncing people. You'd be surprised. No, it's true for like the big firms like Microsoft, Amazon, Starbucks. Like they obviously want you to have a college degree.
Yeah.
But mid-major companies, mid-level companies increasingly don't care. They care about can
Okay.
you do the job? Like, do you have any sort of skill? Are you going to work really hard? Do you have good character?
That makes sense for like startups and such.
Yeah, for
yes.
sure.
However,
And here's the thing, just sorry to interrupt, but after like 5 years, nobody cares where you went to college. Just so we're clear. Sorry to interrupt, but yeah.
yeah, all good. I mean,
We just have a disagreement here. My whole point is to try to push the boundaries of discussion to make you guys open your eyes and realize you guys are getting ripped off by the institution here. And that's it. So
yeah, so I do not believe that I'm getting ripped off because in my field, it is very important, especially with how oversaturated it is right now. I'm studying CS. Computer science, yes.
there's tons of jobs in computer, but I mean, there might not be though. I mean,
There aren't, that's the point. And
AI
so
might take all your jobs away sometime soon, by the way.
To stand out, the whole point is that here and elsewhere around the country, we're doing a bunch of research on how computer scientists and like engineers in general are still going to be useful with the rise of AI. Elsewhere, you don't learn stuff like that. You learn the basics of programming. You've maybe heard about like the Harvard 8-week course, right? That you were probably talking about just a second ago.
One of many.
However, when you actually do take that course, you don't get a lot of the reasoning skills, a lot of the practical application skills, and a lot of the things that I'm learning every day in my classes. And so the fact that you can learn it in 8 weeks and get a job because you have the qualifications, it's true maybe, but in the market that we have right now, where the job market is super oversaturated, there are a ton of people getting computer science degrees.
Yep.
These employers, most of the like high level ones that are going to pay you a lot of money, are not looking for somebody who has the base level qualifications. They're looking for
No.
more than that. And one more thing is that to get these jobs coming straight out of college, even with a degree in computer science from UW, which UW is known for computer science, you are going to have years and years of internship and job experience in most cases. Otherwise, you're going to be doing the base level.
Fair enough.
Right?
So we just have a difference of a worldview. I say, why not graduate from high school, learn to code, and go beg for an internship and bypass the college thing completely? You'd be amazed at how willing people are to help with that. Again, you guys have been largely sold a lie that you need to march through this place for 4 years and check the boxes and get the piece of paper, and it's been dangled in front of you. I'm here to tell you, and I'm only 10 years older than you, that the world doesn't really care you went to college. They care when you come out of college as your first job. Once you're in the door, it really is rather irrelevant. But we disagree.
My question is like, so you're obviously like a professional political pundit. You've had years of training, you have all this money worth of resources behind you. You have a PR team, you got security here. So like, why do you as like a professional pundit think it's fair to come to college campuses and debate like college freshmen? Like, doesn't that seem like kind of unfair to you?
Well, hold on. I mean, let's stop talking down to college kids. I'm talking to voters, right? This audience will determine the future of America.
Well, yeah, okay.
And
as you could see with my first dialogue, I'm not here to be adversarial. We disagreed. I let him have his points in. And as far as the fair standpoint, I have no notes. You can go bring a professor. Why don't you go bring a professor and bring him up to the mic?
Okay, well, okay.
Why don't you go find 5 professors that have PhDs? I didn't go to college. That's a fair fight, right? By the way, you guys are in college. I graduated high school.
Okay. I mean, like, you come here, you say, this is not adversarial, but, I mean, on the text message you sent out, it says, come to the debate. You have this sign that says, prove me wrong. It seems like you like, want this, like, debate to happen so you can put it on YouTube and upload a clip of you dunking on the libs or whatever, dude. It seems like a grift is what it seems like to me.
Okay, but hold on a second. Don't you agree that more speech, not less speech, is better for a free society?
Sure, I agree with that, yeah. But I would agree that, like, on this basis, it just seems like it's like disparate levels of like resources. You know what I mean? It doesn't seem to me. It seems like kind of disingenuous in you coming here because it seems like you don't really like want to have this debate. You just want to like dunk on people, bro.
Well, let me see. I mean, so you're trying to play into my intentions though. So why am I here? I'm here to support our Turning Point chapter. I'm here to help Tim Sheehy to defeat John Tester, as I said, which there's a lot of support for that. And we're gonna have dialogue and disagreement. And yes, I've been doing this for quite a while, but you could also go phone a friend. Go bring 10 libs. You can all have your phones, and you could debate me, and I'll have no notes, and we'll see who wins. In fact, I just debated 25 college kids by myself, and actually went pretty well. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what your point is here. This is a free speech event. You could bring whoever you want, and also, you don't have to come up to the mic.
I was just asking you, dude. Like.
Yeah, and that's it. So, if there's a point of disagreement, we can do that. But last thing I'll say is this: don't think so low of college kids. You might, I don't. This audience will determine the future of Western civilization. And this audience might be drafted into a world war. This audience is being used as pawns by people like John Tester and Kamala Harris to put their radical agenda. It's time that we start talking to the next generation, not talking down to the next generation. And that's what we're doing.
I think a lot of people, both men and women, they're kind of frustrated with the current dating landscape. Do you have any thoughts on this? What's your diagnosis and any solutions? And we'll open it up.
Sure, yeah. I think people need to date with the intent to marry. Yeah, I'm a big critic of hookup culture in its current form. I believe sex should be sacred and is sacred, and it's really thrown away way too generously in this society and culture. And I can tell you I'm super blessed. I have the best wife in the world. We have an amazing life. Building a family is the coolest thing ever, and my prayer for all of you is that you one day can do that.
That's so cute.
It's honestly the most joyful thing, and I've had some pretty amazing experiences. I've been very, very blessed, very lucky, you could say, but very blessed is the word I would use. And the greatest joy I've ever had is coming home to my little daughter running up to my leg. There's nothing that even comes close to it. Not flying on Air Force One, not meeting with presidents. That pales in comparison to your little girl coming up and squeezing your leg.
Okay. Got it. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that with,
Yeah. So I just wanted to circle back because you said something that caught my attention, and I disagree with it. Because you said something like, I hope all of you can like experience that, and like, you said something like, I hope all of you can experience that, and I mean, I don't disagree with that. I hope we can all experience joy in life like that. That's amazing, but I just feel like, I don't know why you said it that way. Like, maybe we're not going to experience that because we don't have the same values as you.
Is that what he said?
From that,
I thought it was.
I don't think that's.
I don't know.
That's not the impression I got, but I'll if Charlie wants to answer.
Well, if I said it that way, I didn't mean it that way. Maybe you can tell me more about your line of work.
What would you like to know?
Do you think that it's going to create a good, happy family in the future?
Right now I'm working on it. Yeah, me
That's
and
good.
my boyfriend are doing really well in our relationship, and honestly, I think contrary to what most people would believe, I think being in porn has strengthened us.
Why is that? I've never heard that.
Yeah.
What can you tell me why?
So basically, like, being in porn and having sort of like this open type of relationship where you can have sex with other people, obviously there are certain boundaries in the relationship, but it really makes you think about, what's important, why you love this person, and you start to really hold things true that are deeper than just sex. And I think that on top of that, you can share sex with other people together. And that's really bonding. That's really fun.
Are you ever worried that, do you ever get jealous of him if he has sex with other people?
Yeah.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
So how does that strengthen your relationship?
Because we're able to talk about it. And I think every time that I bring up a concern and he's able to soothe it and we're really able to like work on that bond, it just makes it stronger.
Have you ever, when you were having sex, do you ever think it's more than physical? That maybe there's emotional and spiritual connections you might be introducing?
No.
So it's a purely physical experience.
Yeah.
See, for me, sex is more than physical. It's actually, that's the least part of sex for me because I get to share it with my soulmate. It's my best friend.
It's definitely a big energy exchange.
It's a big energy exchange. And so, Molly, I would ask respectfully, wouldn't you want to only share that energy exchange with the person that you love most and want to have children with?
I think sex can exchange different types of energies. So like you can exchange an intimate type of energy, or you can exchange a really passionate, like horny type of energy. You can exchange dull energy during sex. You can exchange manipulative energy during sex. Sex can be used for a wide variety of things, and I think the biggest one is like marital spiritual connection, but you can't deny that there's other benefits to it as well.
If you could be with your boyfriend currently, and I waved a magic wand and I said you can make $1 million a year and never do porn again, would you?
No.
Okay. Okay.
What? Are you making more than that a year, Molly?
Not yet.
Oh, well then, I mean, aren't you doing that? That's your profession, so I assume you're doing that to make money, correct?
Yeah, 100%. Well, also
But Charlie
I'm
just
doing
has a magical wand. He's got, that's not the wand.
For the sake of argument.
He's used the wand. You can make $1 million a year. Yeah. You don't have to do, the adult content.
Well, the thing is, I wouldn't have to do it. That would be great, but I would still want to do it. Personally, like, I'm an exhibitionist. I love, like, putting my sexual self out there for other people to see, for other people to, like, touch themselves to, have fun with.
Can I ask you a question? Since you're about presenting yourself to the world, do you have a good relationship with your father?
Okay, here we go.
No, I don't talk to him.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm a UVM student. I was talking to you before. I'm sure you noticed that. But I'm going to try to keep this simple.
Heckling, yes.
Yeah. But I'm just going to hope you respond in a way that's not so just conservative talking point and more of a conversation way. Hopefully. Maybe?
Sure.
Okay. So before there was a question about like Native American communities and treaties and stuff like that, and you were talking about how historically Native Americans have been kind of like screwed over by the US government and stuff like that. Don't you think that history will impact how Native Americans live today and make it more difficult to succeed in America? Don't you think that would influence that?
Well, I suppose a question I'll ask back at you, we've made tremendous accommodations, such as sovereignty of Native American land, entire department of the federal government dedicated just solely to that. Do you recognize that there's been great efforts to try to accommodate that?
I recognize those efforts, but obviously they haven't worked.
So why haven't they worked?
Because it's either not enough or the way that we're doing it is, we need to treat it more as an equity thing instead of just saying, oh, it's a culture, instead of blaming it on people's like individual working and change it societally and help them in a way that actually matters.
So you do know that there's universal health care at Native American reservations, right?
Yeah, but it's not very good because they don't have access to...
Because it's socialistic.
No. They have universal health care in plenty of European countries, and it works just fine. The flaws with the Native American...
So I'm curious, how did Vermont's experiment in universal health care go?
I'm not from Vermont, so I don't know these things.
I didn't hear your response. Say that again.
I'm not from Vermont, so I don't know these things. I moved here like 2 months ago.
Yeah, I still can't hear what you said. Say it one more time.
I
You're
moved
wearing a
here-
mask. It's kind of hard. Can you say it again?
I moved here like 2 months ago. I'm not from Vermont, so
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
know these things.
Right. So Vermont tried single payer. They had to abolish it. It was a total disaster. So look, I think the best way to help Native American communities is to help all people through empowerment and education. Instead, we tried a heavy-handed government approach of intervention of the Bureau of Native American Affairs, of universal health care. And if you want to go see a socialist dystopia, go to a Native American reservation. Maybe you have. Maybe you worked on Native American reservations before. I've been to plenty. They're depressing. They're government addicted, unfortunately, in more ways than one. They're very, very corrupt. And this is something I want to ask you. Would you self-identify as a socialist? Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Okay. Ish.
I'm not a liberal. I'm more social. I'm
Okay.
Socialist
Yeah.
and liberal are different words, and I think conservatives confuse that a lot. They're completely different things. Okay. Okay.
No, we don't. So I'm just curious, as someone who would say you're a socialist, what would be a country you think works well that's a socialist country?
There are no socialist countries right now.
There are no has there ever been a socialist country?
Truly socialist? No.
Okay. So your worldview is on something that's never existed and currently doesn't exist?
Is it a bad thing to be like pro change?
Okay, so just so we're clear, yeah, the type of change you're advocating is horrifying. But so it's never existed, doesn't, and so I would say Venezuela, Cuba, North Korea, formerly Vietnam, the Soviet Union, those are not and were not socialist countries?
The disastrous effects in those countries were directly contributed by U.S. intervention. There were multiple coups done by the CIA in those countries.
So let's take, hold on, guys, hold on. I'm just curious. And so how on earth did Fidel Castro taking over Cuba have anything to do with U.S. intervention?
There was plenty of sanctions. Economically, Cuba was completely cut off. They tried to assassinate him plenty of times. There were so many
the
things
fact that they're communist.
Yeah.
We had what to do with that?
We didn't have anything to do with that, but after a communist regime took over, they had
Yeah, so let me ask you another. So first of all, Zimbabwe was not communist?
Burkina Faso, Thomas Sankara.
Say that again?
Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso. Before he was assassinated, he was actually
How about Mugabe? He wasn't a communist? How about Joseph Stalin? He wasn't a communist?
He called himself
How about Mao Zedong? He wasn't a communist?
Yeah.
Pol Pot?
Plenty of terrible people have called themselves plenty of different names. North Korea,
So you get to be the judge. Got it.
Dem-
Right. So I just want to make sure we complete the point. You believe in something that doesn't exist, has never existed, and even though the people that call themselves the things that you believe, you say they weren't really that, which is the most important point. Socialism is always judged against an impossible utopia, and they judge markets against a reality. And here's the truth of the matter. That markets, which you enjoy comfortably in Western society, is the most proven affluent creating machine in human history. And I would just challenge you to do one thing. Please stop believing in a utopian nightmare and start looking at things around you that are good, that are true, that are beautiful, that work, and are consistent with the natural law. You'll be a much happier person if you do that.
You said socialism is non-American, so what do you think is pro-American?
Well, let's define what socialism is, right? Socialism is the government confiscation of private property. It tends to be the rule of the few, not the many, even though they profess to say it's the rule of the many. But the American, let's just say, economic tradition is private property rights, markets with proper restraint, entrepreneurship, the ability to flourish, trade, create new products. Socialism disincentivizes almost all those things. Socialism is built largely on envy and greed. And hilariously, the people that push for socialism, the rank and file, they don't realize that socialism actually just creates an oligarchy. It doesn't actually create a strong middle class, what they allege, to want.
So do you believe in taxes?
Ideally 10% across the board. Yeah.
Okay, so you believe in the confiscation of people's private property?
At some point it depends on if it's private property income or if it's necessary to fund government services.
But that's still a confiscation with a gun through police if you don't.
I fully acknowledge a moderate form of something I hate in order to fund a government, police, firefighters, EMT is necessary.
But that's still government confiscating private property, which you said was socialism.
Yes, but have you ever called the cops?
No, I don't believe.
Okay,
I don't
you
like
ever gone to
cops. They don't like me.
Okay, you ever gone to the hospital?
No.
Okay. Well, one day when you go to a hospital or you use a social service you
I'm
paid
saying
for.
you define socialism as a confiscation of private property, and you're saying that you believe in
go
taxes, which is a confiscation
Okay, let me
of
go
private
further.
wages.
Let me go for the unreasonable confiscation of private property, the elimination of private property altogether. You see, this is very sloppy intellectual thinking. That just because we want a police force, a border patrol, and we want clean streets, all of a sudden we become a socialist.
But those are still socialism.
Not
It's a
every form
confiscation
of
of private
government is
property.
socialism. Would you acknowledge that?
No, I don't.
Okay, then
When does socialism begin and when does it end? And I'm saying you're saying that
it's-
some level
it's
of
not
socialism
like an entrance
is, but no, but
into
if you're
Narnia.
saying, if you're
It's like
saying
I'm all of a sudden
socialism is
here.
anti-American, I'm saying
it's a
socialism
spectrum.
is a part of America.
Okay, so you want to
even
know when socialism begins and
Yeah.
when it ends?
Yeah.
When you leave the free state of Florida and
Okay,
you
but
enter the unfree state of
what's,
New York.
what's the tax rate in Florida then?
Zero.
No,
The income tax in Florida is zero.
But you still have to pay federal taxes. So if you have to pay taxes at all, it sounds like Florida's a socialist state.
But yeah, so are you trying to say America's currently socialist?
Yes, that's
okay,
what I'm saying.
I would agree. We're going more in that direction. So,
Okay, but you just said that America is socialist, but you said Florida's not socialist. So Florida's part of America. That doesn't make sense.
Oh, but the federal project right now is more socialist than it is free market. Yeah. So to be even more clear, the closer you get towards the government owning a majority of your labor and your goods, the further and further closer you get to socialism. California is that.
Yeah.
Now, I would love for the federal government to get rid of FICA tax, to get rid of, the excess income tax. I've been clear. I think 10% across the board, fine. We need a military. You might not agree. We need a police force. We need a border patrol. We need basic social services that are a safety net, not a hammock. But I do not believe in this over-the-top type taxation. If you want to talk about other types of taxation that everyone here is paying, it's inflation.
To address your previous assertion that race means nothing, critical race theory is not being taught in schools. It is a academic theory that's pretty much delegated only to higher academia. They're not teaching it in schools. Your explanation of it was an oversimplification. You address the real history behind it, unlike most people. And why, if race means nothing, does it affect our history? Say 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. Why is there such evil history with something that supposedly means nothing?
Okay, so first of all, you're wrong. It is being taught in elementary schools. I'll give you an example. Not only is it being taught, it's being enforced. Actually, in the National Education Association's training manual, which is the largest teacher union in the country, they had a seminar on how to teach critical race theory to kids. That sounds like it's in our schools, doesn't it?
What that is it's literally just common sense. It's saying that this is real history. This is what has happened in the past.
Right. So
and that matters.
Okay, got it. So, for example, would you say that black-only dormitories is wrong?
It certainly creates a sense of community. I don't see any problem with that. We have sororities. We have male-only dorms.
But let me ask you a question. Are there differences between races?
No, not biologically.
Then why would we have different dormitories for races?
Culture.
Segregation is what you're arguing for, my friend.
No, sir. No, sir.
How is it not segregation to have blacks in their own dorm?
You've just pigeonholed me, essentially.
You said it was a force of community, and then not for critical race theory.
That's an option. We have choice.
Oh, so you could choose to segregate.
That's a pigeonhole.
What do you think of white-only dormitories?
What?
Would you support white-only dormitories?
Everybody has a choice.
So I think white-only and black-only anything is evil and wrong. That's why I hate critical theory and critical race theory, because when it's put in practice, you start to discriminate people based on race. So we're now south of the Mason-Dixon line in North Carolina. We did a lot of work to get rid of segregation in this country. Why are you trying to bring it back?
What work?
The Civil Rights Act of 1964.
In this state?
Yeah, actually, in this state. Are there black-only bathrooms out there I'm unaware of, or white-only bathrooms?
Nah.
Right. A lot of work was done in this state.
I am a Marxist. I'm very left-leaning, but I'm here to find some common ground with you. Your critiques of the monopolistic tendencies of multinational corporations align very closely with my beliefs as viewing the world through a class lens as being the major axis of inequality in this country.
Yep.
My question is, as a leader of a conservative organization that really condemns large government, how do you address this ever-growing power and these monopolistic tendencies without, using the federal government and big government? I just would love
That's
to
a
know
good
how you
spirited
propose
question. You have read your Marx. Good for you, because some people say they're Marxists and they haven't. So look, I think the Marxists are wrong on a lot. We could talk about that in a second. But the Marxists, their fascination with class is not wrong. And there is a place where class warfare is legitimate and ugly and cruel, and that powerful people are trying to stomp on people that don't have as much as they have. The answer needs to be to try to pursue market-based solutions. Not be afraid to use the government to break up big monopolies like Google. Not be afraid to use antitrust authority. However, understand that sometimes more regulation can actually be a boon and a gift to those mega corporations. For example, when Facebook goes and they says, hey, we want more regulation for data privacy. No, they don't. They want regulation that only they can afford, so the next social media company like Rumble is not able to pay the same that they're able to pay for that sort of data hosting, lawyer fees, and all that sort of stuff. So look, I think we can both agree, though, crony capitalism or cronyism is awful and wrong, and that entrepreneurial, bottom-up focused solutions is a beautiful thing. Where we will disagree, though, is that if you are a Marxist, and you seem too sweet to be a Marxist, so I'll put that aside, but do you believe by definition that the entrepreneurial activity will result in exploitation and will result in the concentration of one person benefiting from the other? This is where I disagree. I think a portion of American economic activity, yes, is big companies exploiting or lying to people. But the vast majority of economic activity happening in America is beautiful. It's voluntary exchange of both parties benefiting. It's the local small business serving a meal to somebody in Santa Barbara. It's a local hotel that is able to have somebody with a great experience. It's somebody that starts a taxi cab company to be able to provide for their family. So I think that we bash markets way too over generally, and I would love your thoughts on that. Do you agree that most economic activity in America is probably done voluntarily and is actually beneficial?
Not anymore. I think because so much industry has gone overseas with certain trade agreements,
hey,
it's
you're speaking my language.
usually like very large corporations that dominate employment in America. So I don't think small businesses are doing very well, especially after the pandemic.
No, that's true. I don't think they're doing well, but I think still the volume of economic activity is largely not rooted in exploitation right now in America. What do you think about that?
I agree to disagree.
Okay, got it. So think about that, because I do think that exploitation happens, but largely I think that there still is this amazing foundation of goodness in our markets, of most people that are not trying to game somebody but instead offer a service, and most people that are willing to trade their value, their time for that other service. And I don't want to lose that. And the Marxists, in its most pure sense, at the eradication of private property, we would lose that. So let me just ask, can we agree on one thing as we close this question out? Break up Google, yes?
Definitely.
All right, we got an agreement. Thanks for being here.
I want to talk about like gun control.
Gun control?
Yeah.
Sure, okay.
So I know, like, we have a Second Amendment. We're like protected owning like firearms.
Yes.
As a gay person, I often fear of like retaliation, hate crimes. I've actually been mugged a few times wearing stuff that may not seem as normal as this.
Okay.
What can like we do from like a Second Amendment perspective to like help bring people into like the folds of like gun ownership in order for like self-protection?
Yeah, I think that's a thoughtful question. I mean, look, I think, if you've been mugged and everything, like, I'm sorry that happened to you. The gun's the great equalizer, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that people like you need to speak up and be like, look, if you think you're going to be terrorized or you're going to be hunted, like, a gun is a moral right to be able to defend yourself and your liberty, right? And your family or your people you love. I suppose it'd be a better question for you, right? Like, what do you think that a majority of gay people are pro guns or anti? I'm just curious. Like,
mostly anti-gun.
Why do you think that is? I'm just curious.
I think it's a lot of like liberal identity politics. How can we like bridge that like disconnect?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think that, look, I don't think gun ownership should be political. I don't. And like, this is one of the arguments I always make for like BLM people, right? It's like, if you think you're getting hunted down, then like responsibly own guns, right? But there is a fear around gun ownership in America. I think it should transcend, sexual persuasion or skin color, right? I think I think it's a moral right for all people, especially if you think, especially women who are, potentially at a physical disadvantage from defending themselves, right? And I mean, you got mugged a couple times. I don't know if the person who mugged you is a man or a woman, I don't know. But like, if you were in a situation where you're physically disadvantaged, like a firearm could equalize that, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty like out there.
Is it taboo, like tactic almost?
Yeah,
or?
like I'm very like, no, go for it, like get into a girl. But then it's also just kind of like not really, I don't want to say like frowned upon, but just kind of like, whoa, that's a bit much from like someone like me. But I just thought I'd ask.
Well, I want to encourage you, like, don't let that get to you.
I'm much more like pro gun ownership and like Second Amendment type.
Yeah, okay. And that's because of necessity, like basically what happened, like what happened to you, or just?
Yeah, but also just more of like, community defense, I would say.
Sure.
I mean, I don't think people should be like shooting each other on the streets or like dueling, obviously.
I don't support that, obviously.
I know,
right, yeah.
But like, it's definitely something that I think that like a lot more like LGBT people should really take into account, just to protect ourselves and like do something.
Yeah, look, I totally agree. Like, I mean, if you believe you're being targeted or you're in a marginalized position, like, that's what the Second Amendment is partially there for, right? I mean, one of the reasons. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you because you're like a very big like political person.
Yeah, I would just kind of take it from a moral argument too, right? Which is like, if you believe, like, who are you going to trust to defend yourself? That's what I would take, right? So it's like, if you trust, do you trust the police, which obviously is not a big thing around here, right?
Yeah.
Do you trust, like, I don't know, someone that you think will hurt you, then the moral argument of the Second Amendment is that you should be responsible for your own autonomy and your own safety, right? There's other reasons too, but.
Okay, thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thoughtful question.
I was speaking with some people who are kind of against you coming here today, and they say that you come here, you're media trained, you've memorized all these talking points, and I just kind of wanted to question, like, are you truthfully like here to try to change people's minds, or is there kind of a benefit to keeping people divided? Like, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, do you think it's better for the country to be divided ideologically, or is it like preventing a more progressive debate?
Well, I guess, how am I dividing people if I ask you if you disagree, you come to the mic? How is that divisive?
Well, no, I'm just saying it's like you have these like clickbaity titles. It says like prove me wrong. Your critics are saying that you're trying to keep people divided. They're urging people not to come talk to you because you're going to spin it. What would you like to say to like your critics?
They're welcome to come to the microphone and say whatever they want to me, but they're intellectual cowards and they won't do that. You know how we heal our divides? By talking to people we distree with.
I would agree with that.
We will get closer to a civil war if we act like that. We just yell at people we don't like. You dress with, I guess I'm all black, but, with masks on and just with stupid epitaphs. Okay, like that's how you get closer to dividing the country. You heal the country when you allow disagreement and you allow a microphone with people that have differing views.
But I think when you come out and you say like civil war and you use these like fear-mongering words, I feel like you're definitely trying to like get people like riled up, and that helps.
I mean, it's 100% factual. We're close to a civil war in this country, and I don't want that to happen. And people that act like that are going to further radicalize both sides, and you de-radicalize a population through speech.
I would say that conversation and media and like spreading the word definitely like that's like how you bridge the gap. But like when you're talking about the immigration debate, you said if you were here illegally, then you should get deported. I feel like that is stopping.
That's a very moderate view, by the way.
I feel like that's stopping like a more progressive debate on how we could help solve the immigration crisis. And
you solve it by deporting the criminals, aka every single one that broke our laws to come here. That's a very moderate position.
But I'm just saying, like, there's like ideas out there that America's this free land, and if you come here, you make it rich. Like, there's a false narrative that's like going out, that's like causing people to come here illegally, and like they try to cross the Rio Grande, and they unfortunately, like, a lot of times, like, if Border Patrol can't save them, then it stops them. So I think there's a more progressive conversation that could happen.
I'm sure there's a more progressive way to look at it. Yeah.
No, but
I'm not here to be progressive.
Okay. Well.
Do you view democracy as an American value, something that's very important to the fabric of this country?
No. Where is democracy in the U.S. Constitution?
Oh, okay. So are you...
No, hold on. Where is the word democracy?
I don't think the word democracy
Yeah,
is
it's
in
not.
the
So
Constitution.
where is the
but-
word democracy in any of the founding
Well,
fathers?
A lot of the
They're-
founding fathers had extremely elitist viewpoints around who
No,
should.
hold on. I just want you said the word democracy, so I want to get back to our roots.
Yes.
Where is democracy mentioned?
I don't.
In the Federalist Papers, the Constitution, or the Declaration?
I think it's good that this country has moved away from
Got
things
it.
that were
So it
explicitly
is
believed by the
mentioned
founding
in the Federalist
fathers.
Papers, and it's mentioned negatively as a problem. So you ask me, is democracy a fundamental American value? I say no.
Okay.
Because I go back to our roots. And
Do you-
Hamilton, Madison, and Jay.
Oh, I know that
spoke-
Hamilton was anti-democracy.
No,
He- like
well, hold on,
these
let me
people
finish.
thought that people should be
But
owned as
I want to be
property.
clear. I am
Yeah.
pro-representative government.
Okay.
But I'm not pro-democracy. That's a big difference, and that distinction is important. But you asked very specifically about democracy, which is
Okay.
not an American value. It never has been and never should be. Because what is democracy? Democracy is majority rule no matter what. That there's no provisions of checks and balances, no inalienable rights, no separation of powers, pure if the majority gets it, the majority wants it as quickly as possible.
I don't advocate pure democracy. I do understand that we live in a
Cool.
representative, like we live
Got
in a
it. So
republic, and
believe
I
in
understand these things.
representative
Yeah.
government.
Okay.
And you might say I'm splitting
Well, I
hairs
would-
on words, but
Yeah.
I'm not.
Well, just coming from a place where, on some level, we have a level of democracy in this country, and people vote, and it is part of their civic duty to vote.
Representative, sure.
Yes. Do you not think it is in the greater interest of this country at large that its citizens are as educated as possible to therefore be able to participate in that
I
system?
think they should be as wise as possible, and I don't think that education and wisdom are the same thing.
Yeah, I
In fact,
understand.
I think college disincentivizes the cultivation of wisdom.
In the age where there is such a hypersaturation of, and we've seen this, like extremely polarizing, different, like people are getting their news from wildly different sources.
Yes.
People just don't interact with the other side at all. Do you think that being an autodidact in any sense of the term is going to give you a thorough and rigorous education if you are like so likely to end up sucked into these holes where you're never
Well,
interacting
that's not my
with
only
people who
form
have,
of learning. I meet a lot of cool people. I learn from people like you and others. I mean, I'm listening when you're talking. It's not just a shtick. You haven't won me over on any of it, but you had an opportunity to. But I'm glad you attempted to. But yeah, I mean, you learn in other ways other than just sitting in a classroom, listening to a professor drone on for 90 minutes and pretending to read his book and paying $20,000 a semester to cheat on the exam at the end of the semester.
I think college is what you make of it. I think
I agree. So is
people,
life.
people are selling themselves short on their
I
education
agree.
if they don't
You can listen to
get
as many
anything out of their
podcasts as you
classes.
want. You can meet interesting people. And
Academia does have like an actual level of like you have to prove that you're worth your salt at least to have peer-reviewed papers published,
I mean, yeah,
which
if
you
you get
don't
a
have
P-
to do to start a podcast.
If you get a PhD, yes, but hold on. So is your contention that I'm not informed or not worldly or not wise? I want to be clear.
I'm not making any claims about your specific level of being informed. I'm
Okay.
saying the general like rhetoric on the right against education, against higher education
Well, hold on.
specifically.
Why do you think it is? Is it because you think we hate smart people, or is it that there's something happening here that we really think is troubling?
I think it's much easier to control people who are less educated.
See, now you're a conspiracy theorist. So, no, it's...
Anti-intellectualism is a hallmark of fascism.
Do you think
Yeah.
we're against higher education because it largely has created an ungrateful, unprepared generation that goes into the American body politic and does not share the core American values of freedom of speech, gratitude for our founding, consent of the governed? In fact, it's hyper-radical. And it's against our traditions, our norms, and our customs, and it's created massive fissures. We call that the woke mind virus, if you will.
Okay, that makes...
It's not because people are easier to control. In fact, we love learning. I learn every day. In fact, that's why I'm pro Hillsdale College, where it's probably one of the hardest colleges in the country to get into and graduate from. The problem is that when you are learning largely trash and crap, and you're not going in the pursuit of truth, beauty, or goodness, and you're not trying to inculcate wisdom or good character,
There's no oversight on online political punditry to make sure that you're in pursuit of wisdom and goodness.
No, of
like
course
you
there's not. I
directly
mean-
profit from propagating viewpoints that are more polarizing and that suck people deeper into more conspiratorial
well, hold on.
thinking.
What you're doing is you're actually insulting the audience, not me. Because the vast majority of this audience actually enjoys watching my videos, and they enjoy hearing from me.
I never said your audience didn't enjoy watching your videos.
Because you say I'm profiting. The way
You
I'm,
do profit, like
But
you
who do
financially,
hold
you
on
make a
second.
ton of
Who do
money
you
from
think
getting more
rewards me,
clicks.
though? The audience rewards me because they find that I bring some
I don't,
value.
well, I don't
and that they
necessarily
learn
think
something from
that
me.
whatever gets
I
the
wanna get
most
to the next
eyes
question.
on a specific.
But
yeah,
it's
no, I
easy to
understand.
attack me as exploitation. What I say is actually very popular and resonates with people. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Thank you.
I went back to school later on in life. Here's my issue. My second semester, I'm carrying an A average, and my teacher writes me an email and asks me what my pronouns were. I'm first year Gen X. I don't have a pronoun. Let me tell you what I do have. I have a noun, and it's my name. And that's the only English language I can actually say I have. But I was cool, and I was really kind. Excuse my language, but y'all are adults here, right? Okay, good. So, excuse my language, but you know what? I am pissed off because when I said to her, I'm sorry, I don't claim a pronoun, I got failed. I got failed in 3 of her courses. And my grade point average went from a 4.0 down to a 2.5 because I didn't carry a pronoun. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? I have an incredible grade point average. I'm a smart woman. I've been working in the workforce for 40 years, and my generation, and if y'all don't understand, invented the internet, for Christ's sakes, and we're not stupid. All right? And yet, you're going to fail me for my pronouns. So my questions are this. As a student, if I don't want to claim this woke ideology, how do I advance and get my degree in something I love and really want to do and would be really good at without being failed unless I fall into their agenda? Tell me how to fix this.
Yeah, so first, thank you for your blunt nature. It's very refreshing. So, yes, there is no easy answer. Number one, there's strength in numbers. Confronting professors or administrators with you plus 10 or 30 other people is the first way to do it. You should not go to appeal by yourself. You should go with the Turning Point chapter and ask for a remedy with many people alongside of you. Number two, though, and I'm just going to be as blunt as possible as you were, I really don't think grades matter that much in the world. I know they matter to you for advancement. My advice to people is that your character and your integrity and standing for what is right matters a lot more than pandering to some sort of an agenda. And I know you agree with that.
Well, the problem is that you lose your funding. Okay, the minute your grades hit below C, you lose all your grants
I hear
and
you.
all your funding that's free. So all these college kids that are getting these Pell grants
I hear
them
you.
pulled.
No, I'm not diminishing that. So they're holding your career hostage over that money. I still, that's why I think college is a scam. I still think you should not comply to their tyrannical woke orthodoxy. You should fight for it. You should fight on it. But to be perfectly honest, I think that it destroys your soul every time that you comply with their nonsense. But God bless you, and thank you for being a lifelong learner. Thank you.